I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? How you doing? It is a great day. And we have an amazing guest on the show today. It's the author's edition. So we have this young lady here has two books. She's got two books and she's into some really cool stuff. I am telling you right now, you don't want to miss this show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Ronald Isley of the Isley Brothers,
I'm Ernie Isley of the Isley Brothers.
and our new album is Make Me Say It Again, Girl. And our new single from that album is called Last Time.
And we're with Yaya Diamond.
And she's a special lady to us, too.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Sara Bachmeier on the show today, and she's going to be talking about two books. But before we get into that, I need to ask her one question. You ready?
I'm ready.
How did you know you were going to write? I mean, literally speaking, but you're writing something totally different. Don't give it away yet, but how did you know you were going to do this?
I always enjoyed writing growing up, but I didn't know that I was actually going to write a book until I got involved in Egyptian numerology, and I had so much information and people wanted to know about it. So they also wanted me to teach classes, and I thought that I should just get all my material together and put it in a book, so that I would have some sort of a manual for my students to look at while I was teaching. And that's kind of how it came about.
Cool.
It's kind of
what was that?
It's kind of it started out as an instruction booklet, but then as I kept writing, it became so much more, as I think every writer experiences. They think it's going to be one thing and then ends up being, because Egyptian numerology is it's a philosophy and a way of life. It's not just calculating numbers. So I kind of go into where I get my information, how I got my information, and my process. And that kind of surprised me that that I told so much about myself personally, because I've always been a closet spiritualist, because I was afraid of judgment. I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, where it's very conservative. It's spiritual, but it's very conservative. And I owned my own preschool. So I didn't want people to think that I was, out there and woo-woo and everything. It wasn't until I moved to Sedona, and where everybody is woo-woo.
I got you.
And so I kind of came out of the spiritual closet, so to speak.
I got you. Beliefs and different things like that all kind of go into one area. Your book, your courses, your ebooks and stuff like that. Tell me about these, because I mean, you say that it just kind of blossomed from just, starting to write. But what direction did you ultimately choose? And how many directions could you have chosen?
Oh, that's a really good question. I kind of got lost there. What was your first question?
I was just saying that you said that things blossomed. You have your ebook, you have your courses.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many directions you could have taken.
Right. And the only direction that I could have taken was the spiritual route. Okay. Because that's what changed for me as I got into Egyptian numerology, was that it kind of followed the law of attraction, where as you raise your energy field, you have greater possibilities. So that's kind of where I started, and because that's what happened to me. And so that's the only thing that I could focus on and write about, because it was amazing how when I raised my energy, I was able to channel the definitions from a higher place. So all of my ebooks and books are about helping people understand that they came here for a reason, and that nothing happens by chance. They came here for a reason, and they have greater possibilities, and their potential is expanded as they raise their energy. So it all took a spiritual route,
Yeah.
and I started from that. I started
Wow.
from that because that was my experience.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And there was a
Yes.
lot of people that,
Go ahead.
go
There's
ahead.
a lot of people.
Oh, there was a lot of people that wanted this type of information, that were waiting for it. And that kind of surprised me. But in one sense, it didn't, because I had been surrounded by people that were growing spiritually and wanted more information on something that could guide them. And that's what Egyptian numerology was all about. And my ebooks too are about how to gives you a different perspective on your potential in several different areas of your life.
Hmm. There's a lot of different people that do numerology in its principal state. So there's the Jews that have numerology. You have the Egyptian numerology. What have you studied any of those?
I was interested in numerology when I was younger, but and astrology. And what stopped me from growing in that area in traditional numerology was that I found that it kind of labeled people and put them in little boxes. Um, and I personally was starting to use it as judging people by their numbers rather than getting to know them as a person. And astrology did the same thing for me too. So I stopped and I didn't pick it up again. Well, I did read Dan Millman's The Life You Were Born to Live, or I'm not sure if that's quite the topic, but if you're into numerology, you've probably heard of it. And he had wonderful spiritual outlook on the way he did numerology. And so I did study his book and was fascinated by it. Egyptian numerology, what makes it different is that it uses an ancient Egyptian numerology chart to calculate your karmic lesson number,
So I'm
which
sorry, you
is
cut off.
carry
It uses the ancient what?
an ancient Egyptian astrological chart. So it combines both astrology and numerology. And I thought that was so fascinating. That's pretty much why I got interested in Egyptian numerology, was because it combined both divining tools in one. And when I took the intensive workshop where I got certified, um, I was I was really taken by how accurate it was for me, and for people that I did charting for.
Wow. So what do you get from this? What do you personally and what have you received while you've been practicing this?
Oh my goodness. When I did my chart, I was when I got into Egyptian numerology, I had just gone through tons of transformations. My parents passed away, and I moved to a different city. I had a new relationship. I was no longer working in my chosen field, which was working with children. And I won't say I was lost, but I was definitely seeking. And when I took the Egyptian numerology course and I read the definition of the numbers that were in my birth chart, my name, my birth date, and my birth name, I was fascinated by a whole new perspective of why my life unfolded the way that it did. And that gave me hope, um, and direction and clarity that I had never had before. But of course, at that time, I hadn't needed it as much as at that time. So it really explained who I am, and what I'm supposed to do here in this lifetime, and my gifts and my abilities. And so I have kept that and expanded on that, and it has never steered me wrong since I got involved in it in 2016. So so it answered a lot of my inner questions about myself, about my life, and the direction that I'm meant to go in. And so I complete believer.
Hear you. I hear you. Now, you said something earlier that really, really shook me. You said that everything that you tried, regular numerology and even astrology, brought you to a place of judgment on other people. How is this different?
That's a good question. So you the best way to explain this is, so my book is called Egyptian Numerology, Emergence into the Fifth Dimension.
Hmm.
And what happened is, after I took my certification course, I wasn't really happy with the definitions. I found that they were, of the numbers, they were still kind of in the category of good and bad. There's a duality. There's always a good a good side of the number and a bad side of the number. And I didn't like that part of it. I love the calculation with the Egyptian numerology, the astrology chart, but not the definitions. And so I got in tune with my spirit guides. I'm a channel, and I was guided to a certain meditation to raise my energy. And so I did that for a year until I was ready. So I started seeing numbers and feeling numbers on a cellular level. And the definitions of numbers that were channeled from me came from a higher place that does not look at numbers in duality. It carries the highest potential of a number. So it can give people an opportunity to see what their highest potential is, instead of describing their good and bad aspects. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it actually does. It actually does, because you're being non-judgmental and you're using what you do believe as the basis. I like the fact that you've taken it and you've explored it for yourself, and defined it for yourself, because this ultimately has to line up with what you believe and how you want to run your life. So tell me about your books.
Well, Egyptian numerology, Emergence into the Fifth Dimension, it was kind of a starter for people that wanted to learn Egyptian numerology. And so it goes about a little bit about my experience, about the spirit guides that I met and channeled to get the definitions of the numbers. It kind of explains the law of attraction. The higher your energy, the more possibilities you have. And that you really can't, it's hard to understand Egyptian numerology definitions unless you've raised your energy, because it won't necessarily ring true for you if you're still vibrating on a lower frequency. And lower frequency meaning complaining, stuck in the past, being a victim. And so my first book tells you how to chart from Egyptian numerology, and it has the number definitions. And now they've changed because the energy's shifted, but it's basically still the same. I've just added some new material, and that's in my second book, The Path of a Wounded Healer. My second book talks about wounded healer numbers. A lot of people come to me that are wounded healers, and a lot of wounded healers get stuck in depression because they don't understand why their life has so many challenges. And a lot of people that have these numbers are more recluse. I mean, they're they're quiet people and they may not quite understand their journey. So the path of a wounded healer talks about the numbers, the qualities of certain numbers, the number 9 and master numbers. If you have those in your chart, it's possible that you are a wounded healer. And a wounded healer is somebody that specifically contracted before birth to go through specific challenges in order to overcome them and then to teach people in that specific area that they were challenged. Everybody has challenges. So the difference is that somebody that's not a wounded healer would have a challenge, overcome it, and then get on with their life. A wounded healer does the same thing, has a challenge, overcomes it, but their job, their purpose in this lifetime is to teach other people how to overcome these challenges. So it's really goes into the psychology of the wounded healer. And then I give my personal experiences because I have those numbers in my chart. Some of the main things that have happened to me and some of the big lessons in life that I had to learn. And then I go into the second book goes into cycles. It gets into life cycles because that's really important to understand. It helps you understand when things are being triggered in your life. And it's usually the 7 years, 9 years, 12 years, and 28 years are Saturn return. And so it's kind of more of an advanced book from the first one. It gives you a lot of different information.
Gotcha.
And that each number has an initiation to align with. And all of this makes your life a little easier once you understand all this information. It's supposed to make your life easier.
Oh, it's supposed to. Okay. Because I mean, in the beginning, can it be confusing? I mean, can it be kind of like, oh my gosh, I never knew. Oh, and some people might be in denial. They might
Oh,
be,
yeah.
skeptical. I mean, if you come from a Baptist home or non-denomination or a Christian background or a Muslim background, there might be some really hard times ahead.
Pushback. Yeah. Definitely. People usually don't find me until they're ready.
Gotcha.
It's like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so, yeah, those kind of people are not really attracted to me.
I understand that.
Unless,
I understand that.
I
But
mean, I a
their
lot of
lives might
people that
change.
were, pardon me?
I said their lives might change. You just don't know.
Exactly. Just opening up the door just a little bit. But I've had a lot of people that came from strict religious backgrounds that were ready that it just wasn't working for them anymore. I mean, myself, I was raised a Catholic, but by the time I was 12, I called myself an extended Catholic. I didn't disown my religion. It just took me as far as it could. And then I needed a little bit more. I started having dreams that I couldn't understand, and my psychic abilities started to appear, and the religion couldn't answer my questions. So I started getting into Eastern philosophy, reincarnation, and numerology and astrology, and to try to understand what was happening to me.
Yeah, I mean,
And so
go ahead.
I get those people that where their religion has taken them as far as they can, and then they need just a little bit more.
I find that everyone has a journey that they have to accomplish. Like you said, you're here for a reason. There is a specific purpose for your existence. And sometimes it's not what you think it is. And so it can be a little challenging and it can be a little daunting. And sometimes, you might be in denial. But ultimately, how can people, and what is your suggestion, I might add, how can people understand their road ahead, even though they are kind of skeptical about it?
Well, I know for me, I had a calling and I knew I was here for a reason. I just didn't know what it was. So we all have a specific purpose, and you're right. It can be confusing because we have also have preliminary purposes that feel like our life purpose, but it's not. It's just another stepping stone to get us to where ultimately we're supposed to be. And that happened to me with teaching, and I thought that was my purpose. But then when it ended, I went, oh my God, now what am I supposed to do? But I still have this calling. So I started, that's where the cycles come in, and understanding your cycles helps you understand the stepping stones that you're taking in order to get to your ultimate calling. I just did 2 webinars. One is how to hear your calling, and then part 2 was how to follow your calling. And both of those are posted on YouTube right now. Um, so if you're interested in your life purpose and what is a calling and how do you know what it is, and how do you follow it? And if you have a spiritual calling, you're not going to get that much support. Be ready for that. Not everybody that you know, not all your family and friends are going to support you. And that's kind of part of the determination to fulfill your calling. You have to have that strength and stamina and really believe in yourself and in your inner voice, your intuition, and where it's taking you. And not always have to share your intimate calling with everybody, just those that you feel will understand you.
Yeah. 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 And it doesn't have to, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily take you out all the way, but sometimes it's just a nudge and you're like, yep, that's what I believed all this time.
Yes, and I get that in my readings. That just happened yesterday with somebody that I was doing a chart reading for. She, it's just a big eye opener where I know I felt that all my life, and I know that's true, and it just feels really good to be to get that confirmation.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, where can people find you?
I do have a Facebook group, Egyptian Numerology, and I have my website, www.egyptiannumerology.org. And basically, my website has pretty much everything that I have to offer, even my books. My books are on Amazon and Goodreads and pretty much everywhere. And yeah, I'm pretty involved with my Facebook group. So that's also a good, and subscribing to my newsletter always lets people know what's coming up before anybody else.
That's great. That's great. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here too.
No problem. No problem, Sarah. And I'm going to go ahead and put all of her information in the description box so that it'll be easy for you guys to find her. If you've ever wanted to find out about Egyptian numerology, this is your chance. I love everything on the historical preference. And I think that everything that has come up is essential to understanding the evolution or the progression, if you want to use that word, of humanity and how we can be one, just one human race.
Connected.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. Connected.
Connected, definitely one. We're one. We're human race. And and it's a wonderful thing to have you here. Thank you so much again, Sarah, for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
No problem. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. But most of all, don't forget to go to that website if you've ever wanted to find out about this. Egyptian numerology is what we've been talking about today. And if you've missed this episode, please go back. Don't forget to subscribe to my girl Sarah's website and her Facebook and her group and wherever else she's at. Okay. We're going to have all that information in the description box below. And until next time, don't forget to dare to be different. Bye.
Bye-bye.